I'm Kelly Huggins, and I serve on the board of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church, and I welcome everyone to our service this morning, and welcome visitors to our open and inclusive community of faith. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another as we each explore these paths. I would like to especially welcome our guests and welcome those, again, who have visited us before. Visitors, it's the custom of our congregation to invite you to stand and give your name and where you're from, if you feel comfortable doing so. Are there any visitors who would like to introduce themselves? Welcome. Hi, welcome. Okay, well, welcome to everyone visiting today. Please join us after the service for coffee hour. We would love to have a chance to get to know you better. Our minister, Rev. Tom Capo, our congregational life coordinator, Mary Law, and all of the members are eager to meet you. I will also be present after the service in Creeves Hall and would be happy to talk with you. Our service can be heard outside the glass doors at the back of the sanctuary should anyone feel the need to leave the service for any reason. There are chairs provided for your convenience. As we begin our service, please silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
As we light the chalice, let us reflect on our third principle, that we affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations.
All right, good morning. I am Reverend Tom Capo, the forgetful minister here at DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. And I also welcome those who are watching us on our YouTube channel on the live stream this morning. Today we're going to consider what it means to be a people of welcome. And we'll also be recognizing our Smile Project mentors and students this morning. So I have some words to offer as we move into this time of reflection and worship. And they were written by Reverend Leslie Takahashi. They teach us to read in black and white. Truth is this: the rest is false. You are whole or broken. Who you love is acceptable or not. Life tells its truth in many hues. We are taught to think in either or, to believe in the teachings of Jesus or Buddha, to believe in human potential or a power beyond a single will. I am broken or I am powerful. Life embraces multiple truths, speaks of both and of and. We are taught to see in absolutes, good versus evil, male versus female, old versus young, gay versus straight. Well, my friends, instead let us see the fractions, the spectrums, the margins. Let us open our hearts to the complexity of our world. Let us make our lives sanctuaries to nurture our many identities. The day is coming when all will know that the rainbow world is more gorgeous than the monochrome, that a river of identities can ebb and flow over the static, stubborn rocks in its course. That the margins hold the center.
It is now our time for gathering. This is when we gather together as a community for a story or a lesson during the service. Sometimes we'll have the young and young at heart gather here in front for easier interaction, but today we'll have the young stay with their family. After today's time to gather, I'll lead the children to their religious education class with their teachers. So this month, our theme is welcome, and what it means to be a people of welcome. And today I have a story from Greek mythology that gives a good example of what it means to be a people of welcome. So long ago, on a high hill in Greece, lived Philemon and Baucis. They were poor, but never unhappy. They had many hives of bees from which they got honey, and many vines from which they gathered grapes. One old cow gave them all the milk that they could use, and they had a little field in which grain was raised. And the old couple had as much as they needed and were always ready to share whatever they had with anyone in want. No stranger was ever turned from their door. But at the foot of this hill lay a beautiful village with pleasant roads and rich pasture lands all around. But it was full of wicked, selfish people who had no love in their hearts and only thought of themselves. So at the time of this story, the people in the village were very busy. Zeus, who they believed ruled the world, had sent word that he was about to visit them. They were cooking a great feast and making everything beautiful for his coming. And one evening, just at dark, 2 beggars came into the valley. And they stopped at every house and asked for food and a place to sleep. But the people were too busy or too tired to help them. They were too busy thinking about the coming of Zeus. So with sore feet and being very tired, the 2 beggars came to the hut of Philemon and Baucis. These good people had eaten very little, for they were saving their best food for Zeus. But when they saw the beggars, Philemon said, "Surely these men need more food than Zeus. They look almost starved." "Indeed they do," said Baucis, and she quickly ran to fix supper for the men. She spread her best white cloth upon the table and fixed herbs, honey, grapes, bread, and milk. And she set upon the table all the best dishes she had and called the strangers in. Then what do you think happened? The dishes that the strangers touched turned to gold. The pitcher was never empty, although they drank glass after glass of milk. The loaf of bread stayed always the same size, although the strangers cut slice after slice. "These are pretty strange travelers," whispered the old couple to each other. "They do wonderful things." So that night, Philemon and Baucis slept on the floor so the beggars might have their one bed. And in the morning, they went with the travelers to the foot of the hill to see them safely started on their way. "Now, good people," said one of the strangers, "we thank you, and whatever you wish shall be yours." As he said this, his face became like that of the sun. And then Philemon and Baucis knew that Zeus had spoken to them. "Grant, O Zeus, that one of us may not outlive the other," they cried in one voice. "Your wish is granted," said Zeus. "Yes, and more. Go to your home and be happy." And Philemon and Baucis walked home, and lo, their hut was changed into a beautiful castle. The old people turned around to thank their guests, but they had disappeared. In this castle, Philemon and Baucis lived many years. They still did all that they could for others, and were always so happy that they never thought of wishing anything for themselves. And as the years went by, the couple grew very old and feeble. And one day Baucis said to Philemon, "I wish we might never die, but could always live together." "Ah, that is my wish too," said Philemon. The next morning, the palace was gone. Baucis and Philemon were gone. But there on the hill stood two beautiful trees, an oak and a linden. No one knew what became of the good couple. And after many years, however, a traveler lying under the trees heard them whispering to each other. "Baucis," whispered the oak. "Philemon," replied the linden. There the trees stood through sun and rain, always ready to spread their leafy shade over every tired stranger who passed that way. So this story is an example of what it means to be a people of welcome. Have any of you heard the term radical hospitality? Yeah. So radical hospitality can be defined as a practice of putting extraordinary effort and emphasis on making people feel welcome. This concept is often referred to as radical welcome and focuses on breaking down barriers that prevent people from participating in a community. So it is now time for class, and I welcome all the kids through 6th grade to join your teachers in the back of the sanctuary as everyone else stands in body or spirit and sings hymn number 188 from the gray hymnal, "Come, Come, Whoever You Are." We'll be singing 2 verses. The words will be projected.
It's on? No. Am I supposed to push some? We're good? Good morning, I'm Maggie Cavisto, and I had the honor of being the chairperson of the Smile Project this year. Will the Smile Project students, interns, please come forward? And will their mentors please join them? You could just stand over here. Yeah, well, I'll be calling them out one at a time. Oh, Dave is here. This is so cool. We have for them their certificates of completion and appreciation and their honorarium for completion of the Smile Project. This project offered local students the opportunity to be mentored by a local business for 4 weeks this summer. We hope you will join us after the service to meet the students and their mentors for some tasty refreshments to celebrate the Smile Project 2018 and to hear more about their experience. I'm going to pass out their certificates, not me. Is not here, but his mentor is Community Care Center, Kimberly White Mentor. I forgot to mention. Marwan's mentor was Anderson Bookstore, Chris Nugent. Chris Chalinsky is not here today. His mentor was Community Care Center, Kimberly White Mentor. DeAndre Dabney. Hope Fair Housing, Kamal Kanjan Liki Hana. Is Kamal here? Come on over, Kamal. Okay, Christine Holland and Mike Holland are not here today. Well-deserved vacation. Christina worked on the campaign office for Representative Deb Conroy and Senator Tom Cullerton, their mentors. Michael worked at Loaves and Fishes, Carrie Gilkey, mentor. Carrie's not here, right? No. Okay. Amarian, I always pronounce it wrong. Marianne Malone. Naperville Police Department, Commander Micus Williams, mentor. But we have, Micus couldn't make it, but show me your name. Officer Fletcher is here to accept. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Christina McGee. Christina worked on the campaign office with Deb Conroy and Senator Tom Cullerton, mentors. Yeah, you can go over there. Danny Perez. Oh, you did. Danny was the Lisle Police Department Deputy Chief Ron Wilkie mentor. Okay. Kai Richardson. Hey, Kai. Challa and Associates, CPAs, Roger Challa, mentor. Thank you, Roger. Esteban Rodriguez. We got to have a picture, Esteban. Law Office of David Guy Stevens. David Stevens, mentor. Thanks, Dave. Thank you all. Two of our students, Marwan and Kai, will share a little of what the SMILE project was like for them and what they take away from this experience. Marwan, you want to go first?
Good morning, everybody. So, last month I was given the privilege to be part of this SMILE program, which helps give youth or from what I know, give youth the ability to work in a real-life environment. And I was blown away by the politeness by my coworkers and my mentor, who was also my supervisor, Chris. I was blown away by the kindness of the customers and my coworkers. Not only did I get to know my coworkers, but I also got to know them as a friend. A lot of the coworkers over there I talked to, and we chatted and we laughed. It was by far the best experience I've had in July. And it beats sitting down at home and playing games. And honestly, for me, the money wasn't the big incentive here. I mean, it was part of it. But the main thing I was looking for was the work experience, because ever since I turned 15, I constantly wanted to, I've been applying at jobs by my area, but none of them accepted me, either because I'm too young or they think that I'm going to damage their rep. So having this work experience really will boost me and help me out a lot in applying for jobs and giving me that nudge to actually be more successful in high school and hopefully in college. And I'm so grateful for this program, and if I had the chance to, next year, I'll do it again.
Thanks, Marwan. Kai?
All right, good morning, everybody. This project, this month, felt like a long month, but I think I learned a lot personally from Mr. Chavla over there. I learned how to make coffee, which, it was interesting, but I think I just kind of got exposed to a lot of different and new things personally. And it just kind of got me ready for the real world and what I'm going to really be doing in 2-3 years sooner or later. And it prepared me, and I think it gave me new connections and new experiences that I wouldn't experience if I didn't do this program. And I think it was just a blessing. It was a real good experience, and I'm just happy. Thank you.
So I want to add my congratulations to all the students and mentors. And I want to thank our Social Justice Committee who put this together. And I want to ask this, if anybody in this congregation contributed to this program in any way, either through their time or their treasures or their input, and if you contributed to it in any way, I'd ask you to stand, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all, and you all can have a seat. Thank you again. And as they sit down, let's stand one more time and sing "Come, Come, Whoever You Are." We'll sing it through 2 times. This is not Gina, this is Kelly, so that you don't. And as we share some quotes with you this morning, I ask you to consider, what does it mean to be a people of welcome? And if you like, as you're listening to these quotes that we're going to do, you might meditate, or if you want to close your eyes and listen and see what your responses are, you're welcome to do so.
The heart of being a people of welcome is about creating space for someone to feel seen and heard and loved. It is about declaring your table a safe zone, a place of warmth and nourishment. Author and blogger Shauna Nyquist.
Being a people of welcome is marked by an open response to the dignity of each and every person. Best-selling poet and essayist Kathleen Norris.
Welcoming people do not try to impress, but they try to serve. Author Karen Burton Maines.
Being a people of welcome means inviting strangers to become friends, to get to know their inner selves more fully, and even dare to be silent with you. Dutch Catholic priest, professor, writer, and theologian Henry Nouwen.
Welcoming people don't have to be perfect, just heartfelt. Counselor Susan Karras.
People of welcome offer wisdom. Do not offer just wisdom, but love.
A people of welcome offer the exceptional blend of love, humility, hospitality, and persistence that can overcome any barriers. Christian apologist Nabil Qureshi.
And finally, as people of welcome, we remember that the places in which we are seen and heard are holy places. They remind us of our value as human beings. Author and integrative medicine professor Rachel Naomi Riemann. So what does it mean to be a people of welcome? For us here at DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church, what does it mean to be a people of welcome? Well, first, I would encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to read the newsletter. This month, there's a lot of articles about being a people of welcome. Mary Law wrote some things. Steve Cooper, our Director of Religious Education, and we've offered some ideas, practical ideas, on how to be more welcoming. Effective strategies that might help you engage in a conversation with a visitor to our congregation. Strategies that might help you feel more at ease in this unique faith we have of shared values but different beliefs. And tips on how to connect you with the various affinity groups we have here, ranging from our humanist group to our pagan group, as well as our chalice circles, our covenant groups. You might think that how you engage with a visitor doesn't make that much of a difference. But I want to tell you it does. A few weeks ago, Martha, my lovely wife, was telling a new friend that she'd met outside of church, where she goes to church, and the person replied, "Oh, I visited that church many years ago, and I remember they actually talked to me." So yes, it does make a difference. These kinds of positive interactions are part of being a person of welcome. The quotes that Kelly and I shared this morning all speak of being welcoming and what that means. But as I read through the quotes and I thought about that, there's something more, something I'm missing. How can we learn to be more friendly to people, strangers, on a Sunday morning or really any time in this world? I was looking for something that pulled all those quotes together and all my ideas of what it means to be welcoming. And just the other day, I've been reading some things and I found it. Now let me tell you where I found it. I'm going to a class in a couple of weeks in Washington, D.C. It's to take a course offered by the American Humanist Association called the Humanist Life Stance. Just to let you know, I'll be in class from 9 to 5 for a couple of days with some leaders from the Ethical Society, and then they're actually going to take us on a field trip to the Hall of Origins at the National Museum of Natural History. And in preparation for the course, I have to read 5 books, 8 or so articles, all 3 humanist manifestos, and write, well, there's 4 papers, and then I had to respond to a ethical dilemma. It's very much like a college course. And I think they're going to ask me to do a paper after it's all over. But it was in one of those books that I was reading that I found what I was looking for. The book was called The End of God Talk, an African-American Humanist Theology by Anthony B. Pinn. Now, I need to give you a little bit of background to explain some of Pinn's ideas before I share with you what I got. So let me do that. First of all, let me share with you a little bit about what humanism is. It's living in the here and now, focusing on our lives on making ourselves and our world the best we can with the time that we're allotted on this planet. Now, Pinn adds to that definition that humanism includes a quest for complex subjectivity, a complex way of seeing the world, and a push for greater life meaning, so that we not only take in the world through our senses, but we intentionally try to make meaning of that world in a positive way. So we're going to add all that to our definition this morning. Now, Pinn is a non-theist humanist, and he differentiates between what he calls weak humanism and non-theistic humanism. Weak humanism being allowing for, let's say, the possibility of a belief in a divine or God while also having humanistic values. He rejects supernaturalism and transcendence while exploring how, being a humanist, you can embrace a sense of awe and wonder in everyday life experiences. And for him, his quest in this book is how ritual and celebration can enhance mundane everyday experiences. Now, Penn experiences awe and wonder in the world, and he talks about how he does this through the works of theologians like Howard Thurman, author Alice Walker, she wrote The Color Purple, Transcendentalist and Unitarian Henry David Thoreau. He also finds inspiration in the lives of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. And for him, the idea of place, and he defines place as P, open parentheses, L, close parentheses, ACE, is both a place in space and time. So he says the physical space is embedded in time, place, embodying complex subjectivity. In other words, that the world is complex, that how we take it in and make meaning of it, that's complex. And that it's up to us to make meaning of every experience that we have. Now, I'm not going to go into that in more detail. It may be another sermon, so I know I'm giving you a lot of information, so just take it in. Okay. He also talks about what theology is, and I'm going to give his definition and then kind of talk about it just a little bit. He describes theology as a method for critically engaging, articulating, and discussing the existential being what it is to be an acting, feeling, living human being, and the ontological, the nature of being, becoming, existence, and reality. What he's trying to say there is that theology is engaging the issues that we face as human beings. Each of us face in our everyday human life. The questions we ask, the purpose, the meaning we put into all of this. Everything that we ask in our lives as human beings, he considers theology. So how does all this fit into this idea of being a people of welcome? Well, let me share that with you. Penn writes, non-theistic, humanistic theology wants to avoid any tendency to essentialize community while still retaining a sense that community means something akin to the substance of the uncertain, a misty recognition of and. So when I read that, what I felt he was getting at is the idea is that we cannot make a community that we want. And we cannot make a community be what we want it to be. A successful community comes from embracing the uncertain, misty recognition of and. Now, he feels that certain Christian communities, or really any community that tries to enforce like-mindedness, trying to get you to think the same way as everybody else, is counterproductive. Penn believes that people really shouldn't be molded or shaped or even nudged to think in a certain way. He encourages us to embrace the idea of community that is enriched by diversity. Diversity of thought and feeling and idea. And that it is created by this people of diversity by themselves as they gather together. And he believes that there is value in this kind of community, but also that we should avoid any sense of needing to be part of a community to have a fulfilling life. So he says you don't have to be part of a community to have a fulfilling life. But if we choose to be part of a community, we can be enriched by it. We grow from being part of it. Even as the awareness of the community, that any community that we join, is that it is not perfect and never will be perfect. Being part of a community lays bare the limits and importance of the empty spaces in this geography and exposes us to what is and what is not in our lives and in the world. So being part of a community, we see the good and the not so good. We see everything because we're in community with each other over a period of time. And that's what is rich about being in community. We live in this tension of having this idea that community is this positive thing that we want to be part of, but also feeling that there is something absent, some need or want not being filled in that community. So our community can't fill all the needs that you have, but it can meet some of those needs. The need that it primarily meets is the diversity that we share with one another as we grow and live and understand the complexity of this world. Penn writes that community does not override the ability to achieve personal ends, so we can all do our own thing and achieve personal ends, but provides an opportunity for a collective vision, for loyalty, and for recognition of each of us, for who we are and the complex person that we are. And for him, this idea is both physical and spiritual. Being in community is both physical, gathering together, and spiritual. The richness we share in this diverse community, learning from each other, seeing the world as different through each other's eyes. Our Unitarian Universalist third principle states that we affirm and promote the acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth within our congregations. Our principles, our 7 principles, our values, they are not doctrine. And I agree with this principle. I try to live it in my life because it makes sense to me. And it's congruent with my values, not because it's doctrinal, not because I have to be part of this church community or this faith. Members of any Unitarian Universalist church do not have to be in agreement with any of our principles to be Unitarian Universalist. So here's the truth. The principles, our 7 principles, worth and dignity of every person, all of those principles that you find in our hymnal and you find on walls in this church, the truth is that they are descriptors, not prescriptors. They were created to describe the values of people who generally come to and remain members of Unitarian Universalist congregations. They were created to describe Unitarian Universalism to people who are not Unitarian Universalists. The minute they become a litmus test for being a Unitarian Universalist or a member of this church, we are on a path to both essentializing this community and forcing this community to be like-minded. In other words, trying to get people to accept that there is only one way, only one right way to think or believe, and they must understand that in order to be welcomed here. And that just isn't true. So what are the characteristics of a people of welcome? Being a people of welcome means that we are not here because we have to be. We are here because we choose to be, we want to be. And we understand that anybody who visits us doesn't come here because it's Sunday morning and they have to go to church. They are here because they want to be here. And as people of welcome, we affirm the importance of an uncertain and understanding that the uncertainty of being part of this community is intrinsic to our diversity of belief and thought. It's something that we value here. We are aware that embracing this uncertainty allows anyone who joins us to know that they can belong here, be part of this church community. Being a people of welcome means we realize that we are enriched by anyone who joins us. Anyone who joins us. As people of welcome, we also know that we are imperfect, and our community is imperfect. And that is the way of life. That's the way it is in complex systems. That's the way it is in this world. We are a people of welcome when we understand the complexity within ourselves and our world, while understanding that anyone who joins us is just as complex as we are, and they have the capacity to help us understand more about the complexity of life. And as people of welcome, we hold our principles very loosely, understanding that they describe the values of many, but not all of us, and that we use them to help others understand what many of us as Unitarian Universalists value. And as people of welcome, we do not try to mold, shape, or nudge each other or anyone who visits us into a particular way of thinking or believing. What does all that mean? What does it mean to you when you hear that? Well, for me, I reflect out on the sign we have in Creeves Hall. It's a big sign. It says, "Welcome." It's a big triangle. It says, "Welcome to anyone who is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, ally, black, white, Hispanic, Latina, Latino, Asian, biracial, multiracial, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, interfaith, pagan, elder, adult, young adult, teen, child, infant, native-born, immigrant, humanist, atheist, agnostic, theist, conservative, liberal, single, partnered, special needs, a visitor to our church, and each of you." But my friends, this is an incomplete list. There are more descriptors we can add. And so, after today's service, when you go out, you'll find that I'll be putting a piece of butcher paper out there beneath the sign. And I'll put a couple of mark slots. And as you drink your coffee and eat your sweets and such, I want you to write descriptors of others that you feel should be welcomed here. And as you think about those people, think about how you can make them feel welcome. And don't just think about them. Once you have an idea, share them. Share them with me or Mary Law or people on our Congregational Life Committee. Let us know. Because what we need to do here is to continue that process of letting anyone who walks in these doors know that they are welcome and how we can help them feel welcome. We're not here to nudge them, to change them, to make them believe anything other than what they believe. We are here to accept them, to to embrace them, and to see the world and complexity through their eyes as they see it through ours. So let us go forth from this time being a people of welcome.
We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-supporting church and its many ministries. The gifts of the congregation will be most gratefully given and received.
So now we extinguish our chalice. But let us carry its flame in our hearts as we go out into the world and live our third principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations and really in the world. So I invite you to rise now in body or spirit, and let's sing hymn number 347 in the gray hymnal, Gather the Spirit. The words will be projected to your left. piece of paper that I asked you to write on will be right under the welcome sign out in Creeves Hall. Please write some things down. Think about how we can invite more people into this loving community. And I leave us today with these words by Reverend Minister, UU Minister, Jean Ricard. As we leave this time together, we have a calling in the world. We are called to honor diversity, to respect difference and dignity, and to challenge those who would forbid it. We are people of a wide path. Let us be wide in our affection as we go out into the world in peace. Now, I invite you to turn around and greet one another. Let us share the love of this community.